What if I told you anxiety is the key to success and that it's the gateway to manifestations, to transform your life to more love, to more freedom and more happiness? What if I told you that you're just a few steps away from transforming your life when you can realize what anxiety actually is and how to use it? I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story because I used to suffer with really bad anxiety to the point where I didn't even want to go outdoors or talk to people or communicate with people. And this was during my spiritual awakening back in 2011 when I was living in Thailand. Right now, I'm actually in Paraguay. I have created the capacity to travel all over the world, make income online, and help people just like yourself transform their lives. And there's a link in the description if you want to join my community to learn how to shift and reprogram your identity and get rid of blocks like doubt and fear that stop us from achieving the goals, including anxiety in our lives. My first ever $25,000 sale came through me having anxiety. My first $80,000 month, in fact, my first $40,000 month, which was my first biggest month, came through me having anxiety. My first $80,000 month came from me having anxiety. And oftentimes, when we experience anxiety, we tend to retreat and we tend to avoid, and we don't like the feeling of having this nervousness, this uncomfortable feeling in our body, and we tend not to follow through. And we end up waiting for the right feeling, especially as us empaths and sensitive ones, highly sensitive persons. We wait until you feel the right feeling, right? And once you have that feeling, okay, now it's time to pursue the goal. And we wonder why we have these ups and downs and fluctuations in our income, or ups and downs in taking action and not taking action. And we get stuck in this kind of dopamine loop of trying to feel good before I take action. And so I've spent a lot of money on my own education. I've done a lot of meditating and reflecting and inner work. And after hiring and spending thousands of dollars on coaches, on mentors, that would advise me and tell me about emotions and how to take action and stuff like this, they all have the same response to me when it comes to taking action and reaching your goals. Is that they said to me, Gavin, you spend way too much time focusing on how you feel rather than doing the thing despite how you feel. And don't get me wrong, my anxiety was crippling to the point where I didn't want to go outside, where I didn't want to communicate with people. I had really, really bad social anxiety. And to hear that they're saying to me, Gavin, you're listening to how you feel way too much, was like kind of weird to me. Like, bro, if you was going through this yourself, you wouldn't be taking action too. But what if that's a narrative I'm spinning in order to avoid success? Because there were times in my life, like I said before, where I done $25,000 in a day, $40,000 in a month, $80,000 in a month. There were times that I did this when I actually felt anxiety, when I had crippling bad anxiety, and I was still able to attain amazing results. And in the law of attraction spiritual community, we have this idea that I need to feel perfect, or I need to be high vibration before I can attract what I want. But what if the vibration of success is anxiety? What if the vibration of abundance is having a sense of nervousness and anxiety? What if it's not comfortable? What if it doesn't feel like a regular 9-to-5 job? What if it feels abnormal to you in your current state of being, and that you're waiting for the right feeling in order to pursue what you really want to pursue? See, my girlfriend also suffered with really, really bad anxiety. But you know what? She was able to become a millionaire in 1 year from having high levels of anxiety. You're probably wondering, how is that? Like, how can you have high levels of anxiety and still attain success? Well, for her, the way that she framed it in her mind is that when I take action, the anxiety goes away. When I get it over and done with, the anxiety goes away, and it starts to learn that I'm going to do it regardless of how I feel. And so oftentimes, especially nowadays, we really focus on feeling because we have the luxury of focusing on our feelings. Now, if you go back a generation or two ago, if you ask your grandparents, about how they feel, they will tell you, it doesn't matter how we feel, we're going to go and pursue that career, that job, or we're going to do whatever it takes in order to achieve the goals that we have set. Whereas for us, this generation, my generation, and even younger generations, in a way, we've become a little bit soft, and we're so focused on being empathic and sensitive, and this holds us back. And what I've got to say about it is we've got to build a bit more of a backbone. Whilst right now I'm on the balcony in Paraguay, and I'm in a building that's built mostly by men, and it's something that is secure and structured. And what this does is it makes us feel secure and safe, and it prevents us from being all that we can be. Can you see how that works? Even the idea of having a car and traveling and commuting to work and having a boss over our shoulder is relatively easy to survive. Now, that's in the first world. I'm talking about first world countries here, where there's so many opportunities, there's so many different jobs, there's ways to educate yourself, we have access to the internet, and we can learn different things. And so there is a state of comfort around who we are and what we can do and what we can achieve. However, when it actually comes to taking action on it, then it becomes a bit of a problem, because now we're stepping into what we would call a new version of yourself, or a different version of yourself. And the subconscious mind starts to flare up. Its doubts, its fears, its anxieties, and it wants to prevent you from achieving the goals that you set out for yourself. And it can be really difficult to get past that, because the feelings are so strong, they're so present, and it makes us procrastinate and not pursue the outcomes that we want in our life. So I learned pretty recently, I was watching an interview with a guy named Damon Carr and Jason Fladian. And in this interview, they were talking about the emotion of restlessness. The emotion of restlessness. What is restlessness? A lot of billionaires with a B, have a high level of restlessness. Restlessness is when you are able to do something regardless of what the stakes are, regardless of how you feel, and regardless of how other people would feel. Whereas people like us have a low tolerance for restlessness. We actually stay stuck in thinking about what other people will think of us, thinking of how we perceive ourselves. We're afraid of our own power and who we will actually become in the process of achieving success. And this doesn't happen necessarily on a conscious level. This is happening more on a subconscious level, and we don't even realize it's actually happening. Now, I've worked with hundreds of people all around the world, and when I'm diving into their subconscious mind, reading their energy, it always goes back to the same thing. What do other people think of me? I'm not enough. I'm afraid of death or dying. What if something bad happens to me? And so these are the main core subconscious patterns that we all have in our reptilian brain, and we can't avoid them. They're there, they're always going to be there. And this is our default system. This is who we are on a fundamental animalistic reptilian brain level. So we're always going to have doubts and fears that hold us back. Waiting for comfort in order to achieve the goal is the wrong idea to think about it. That is how society has programmed us to behave in a way where we are kind of docile and being able to be controlled and programmed. That's why I talk about awakening your inner authority and realizing who you really are on a mental level and who you are on a spiritual level. Once you know who you are on a mental and a spiritual level, and you combine the two, when you merge the yin and the yang, you will realize and awaken your inner authority, where it doesn't matter what's going on in life externally, you're still consistent on what you need to do, and you still face your challenges, but you still get on camera like I'm doing now and taking action. Like even before making this video that I'm making for you right now, there was a bit of anxiety in my solar plexus sacral area. I could feel this sense of anxiety, or how am I going to do it? It needs to be done right. There's all of these narratives that are spinning in my mind. But when you are able to access your inner authority, it doesn't matter what the narrative in the brain is feeling. It doesn't matter about the feeling in the solar plex or the sacral area. It doesn't matter about the fears or anxiety. You're just able to go ahead and pursue it regardless of how you feel. Does that make sense? So anxiety here is actually the gateway to your inner authority. Anxiety is your power or sign to do it anyway. So you feel it and you do it anyway. Do it uncomfortably. Do it feeling awkward. Do it feeling like you don't want to do it. Do it feeling like you're going to be embarrassed or whatever feeling is showing up for you. Do it regardless of how you're feeling. And through that, you are accessing your inner authority, which will lead to more money, more success, more happiness, more love, and whatever it is that you want to attain or manifest into your life. Does it make sense? Because, you know, they talk about how success is just outside of your comfort zone, right? We focus too much on comfort, that I need to feel the right way. So what can you do? Let's say you wanted to get a promotion, right? And maybe a promotion requires you to speak in front of people and do meetings. And that makes you a little bit sweaty, right? A little bit nervous, a little bit anxious. Well, that one action can lead to a raise. That one action could lead to you getting an opportunity where you're speaking on stage in front of 500 people and you're going to get paid $5,000 for the day. That could lead to you getting your dream client. A few weeks back, I was talking to my coach and we were discussing talking about topics that are a little bit more taboo, topics that are authentic to me, topics that are challenging people's beliefs. And I've been holding back from talking about these specific topics. And so what we did is we set a goal to actually go ahead and start doing topics and start talking about things that are a little bit more challenging for me to talk about, because I'm afraid of what people will say or what they will think or the negative feedback that I will get from people. For example, I don't believe in feminism. Feminism is more, in my opinion, about separation and independence and individuality, which can be good in one sense, but when it comes to a relationship, it's causing a lot of problems. Again, this is a totally different topic. I will dive into that in another video. Right now, you're learning something completely new, maybe, perhaps, or you're being reminded of something. How can you apply this right now into your life? How can you ask your partner a question? How can you ask your boss for a raise? How can you do the video that you wanted to start, the YouTube channel you wanted to start, or how can you enroll into the program that you wanted to enroll into, or whatever it is right now, despite how you are feeling? Too much questioning, too much analyzing, paralysis by analysis, and then we get lost in that, and then we don't really achieve our goals. You know, one of the biggest regrets that we're going to have as we get older and as we age is that we didn't pursue the things that we wanted to pursue in life, and we didn't spend enough time with family members, and we didn't tell people that we love them. We didn't do the things that were brave and bold and outside of our comfort zone. And you know that quote, our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate, our biggest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And I 100% agree with this, because when I work with clients one-to-one and I really tap into their subconscious mind, they're not afraid of fear of failure when I really ask them questions. They're not afraid of fear of success when I really ask them questions. They are mostly afraid of who they will be once they will achieve their goals. And that's what really gives us that scary anxiety. You're scared of being consistent. You're scared of taking action. You're scared of showing up that powerfully in front of people, because now you have a sense of responsibility to keep it up. You have a sense of responsibility on how people will perceive you. You have a sense of responsibility of being a leader. You have a responsibility of continuing to feel anxiety and to feel uncomfortable. And nobody wants to deal with that. And that's the difference between those who are able to create more success and manifestations rather than not as much success. We live in the 3D matrix. If you're wanting to manifest more success, it's not necessarily going to come in a comfortable and relaxed and gentle way. Can it? Yes, it can. But in the same way, it doesn't build that sense of resilience to keep it because you've claimed it or manifested it so easily. Not all the time, but you hear so many stories of people winning the lottery and losing it all because they haven't built that resilience, that mindset to keep the money and keep the success and feel the worth and the determination that they put into it and valuing it very highly. So that's what we need to do, and that's what we need to realize, is that we need to think about who are we becoming in the process. And for me, people, wanting to start a business and pursue a career in business and helping people, whatever it is, they think it's about the money and the success that they will have and the opportunities and the lifestyle that they will live. And I can tell you, after years of doing this has been 17 years since I've been in online business and helping people, is that business is very spiritual. You will grow so much and you won't even realize who you become through the process. And that is the sweetest, most powerful, most beautiful thing that comes out of it. Despite the money, the success, and the people that you get to help, it's like your evolution and how the business asks or requests from you to become who you need to become to achieve the results that you want. And so it's very important to have that strong commitment in who you are becoming and the business itself and the results that you want in your life. So if you want more freedom and you want to access your inner authority, you got to commit to that and do whatever it takes to get there. And through the universe will teach you and guide you into becoming what we call a greater version of ourselves. But overall, the best identity is no identity at all, because this is God, this is the universe, and this is your inner authority. So this is what I teach, how to access your greater power. I've linked training below where I show you how to get rid of doubt and fear from your body instantaneously, literally within 5 minutes, and you won't believe how fast it is. And that's about it for this video. See you in the next one. Peace.